Lucius the Eternal is the champion of the Chaos God Slaanesh and a Lord Commander of the Emperor's Children Traitor Legion. Lucius is also known as the Soulthief, Fulgrim's champion, Blade of Aeons, and the Scion of Chemos. During his youth on Chemos, Lucius became noted for his talent and ability to master nearly any talent. He quickly gained sponsors among the elites of the planet, and he gravitated towards the art of war, most notably swordsmanship. He displayed perhaps sadistic tendencies early on, killing individuals he claimed were beggars and brigands that had attacked him first. He proved to be a poor teacher, often scarring his pupils or cutting off an eye or finger in an accident. When he took part in an annual swordsmanship contest on Chemos, Lucius garnered the attention of a hulking stranger in the shadows. He dueled against a famed champion twice his age, and after suffering a blow to his stomach, took apart his opponent piece by piece. As he was about to be attacked by the champion's supporters and disciples, Lucius was saved by a sergeant of the Emperor's Children who inducted him into the Legion. During the Great Crusade, Lucius was the captain of the 13th Company of the 3rd Legion. His skill with a blade quickly became legendary among the Legion. Other members of the Emperor's Children considered Lucius to be proud, foolhardy, and sometimes a little childish. Even his closest friend in the Legion, Soulthief, was wary of him. He was never bested in swordplay. The only duel he is known to have lost was against Captain Gavia Loken of the Lunar Wolves, who brought him down with a punch. In a later rematch, however, Lucius was victorious. Lucius took part in the War on Murder, where he fought with an ornate antique sword, forged in the smithies of the Urals by artisans of the Terawatt clan, true relic of the Unification Wars. In the betrayal of Estevan III, Lucius found himself betrayed by the legion he loved, and found himself fighting alongside Soulthief with the loyalist marines of the Emperor's Children. As it became apparent that it was Tavids who was the hero of the hour for the loyalists, Lucius grew jealous and betrayed his one-time friend to the traitor legions as his hunger for glory overcame his already dwindled sense of honor. He did this by attacking a group of 30 loyal marines who were assigned to him. He, however, did not do this alone. While fighting his own men, Captain Solomon Demeter arrived at Lucius's position. Lucius cried out for help, and thus duped Captain Demeter to think the marines Lucius was fighting were traitors. Unfortunately, Demeter realized this after the last of the 30 marines were killed. Lucius and Demeter, who had a mutual dislike towards each other, became locked in combat, during which Lucius killed the already wounded Demeter. After his betrayal of the loyalists, his combat skills were recognized, and he quickly became the leader of Fulgrim's bodyguard of assault marines, gaining the rank of Lord Commander. He later was troubled by dreams that made him convinced that Fulgrim was possessed by some entity, and led other top-ranking members of the Legion, including Fabius Bile and Marius Vairoshan, in the capture of the Primarch. After ineffective torture and an attempted exorcism, Lucius came to understand that while Fulgrim had been possessed, he had gotten rid of the demon himself. Lucius followed his Primarch on his quest for the Angel Exterminatus. Lucius twice crossed swords with Nicona Sharikan of the Raven Guard. The first time, Lucius came away with a scar on one cheek. The second time, on Idris, Sharikan gave him a matching scar and then killed him with 2 blades through his heart. Lucius died on Idris and awakened in Fabius Bile's apothecarian, amazed to be alive. After the events on Idris, Lucius set out alone in search for a worthy challenge. He crossed paths with Hathor Mat of the Thousand Sons, who he despised for being so alike to a younger Lucius. Mat told Lucius of Sanacht, a peerless swordsman of the Thousand Sons, and his tower on the planet of sorcerers. Lucius, still enraged by his defeat at the hands of Nicona Sharikan, set out to challenge Sanacht to a duel. Learning that none of the Thousand Sons Corvidees were able to prophesy Sanact's eventual defeat in combat only served to feed Lucius's ambition. After a long-winded journey, Lucius reached Sanact's tower. The swordsman welcomed Lucius's challenge, sure of his own victory. Sanact asked Lucius if he was eager to die, to which Lucius replied that he has already experienced death once. Sanact accurately claims that Lucius sought him out to understand why he came back from the dead. In the unfolding duel, Sanact was always a step ahead of Lucius, taunting his natural ability as being inferior to his own learned skill. Lucius was surprised to receive tips on his own technique from the Thousand Sun swordsman, but refused the notion of requiring help. As Lucius unleashes his full fury upon Sanact, he eventually manages to overwhelm the Thousand Sun, disarming him. Before he could deal the killing blow, however, Isaac Erman steps in to hold Lucius's blade with a psychic barrier, stating that he would shield Sanact even though the Thousand Sun himself would not have, stating that he would soon have need of Sanact. Lucius accompanied Erman on his quest to retrieve the Iron Oculus for the sole purpose of waiting for an opportunity to battle Sanact. Lacking a proper moment, he stayed part of Erman's group during the subsequent search for the shards of Magnus, his facial scars healed by Hathor Mat. Lucius was part of the Thousand Suns search for the shards of Magnus on Kamiti Sona, and on the station came to battle Yaso Nagasena, an agent of Malkador the Sigillite. Lucius was able to best the skilled but non-augmented swordsman and casually threw him from a causeway, but the human survived. Afterwards, Lucius continued to accompany Erman's cabal, falling under the sway of the demon inside the Iron Oculus and manipulating Hathor Mat into changing the Book of Magnus at the creature's behest. On Nicaea, the Thousand Suns and their imperial enemies both became trapped within a crystal labyrinth summoned by the possessed Lemuel Goman. Inside the labyrinth, Lucius was confronted by the forms of Sanact, Gavial Loken, and Nicona Sharogan, defeating them all but becoming enraged when he saw a reflection of his previous uncorrupted self. Lucius was swallowed by the crystal maze. Somehow, he was able to escape the crystal maze. When Fulgrim was forced by Logard to rejoin the Traitor war effort, the Primarch let out a great cry across the warp, ordering the Emperor's children to return to his side in preparation for the Siege of Terra. Lucius was seen hearing the call on Nitis, surrounded by scattered limbs. Lucius continued to hone and better his combat skills after the Emperor's children began to worship Slaanesh. Fulgrim organized gladiatorial games on their new home planet whenever the Legion was unable to vent its need for the pleasure of the kill on other worlds, and Lucius was undefeated in these, an unstoppable force, until he fought Lord Commander Sirius. Lucius died, and his death was an experience of such transcendent pleasure that Slaanesh himself took notice. He could not let such a promising marine slip away. In the following days, Sirius began to change. Lines began to appear over his skin, and his hair started to fall out. Lucius was back in the world of the living, and all that remained of Sirius was a screaming face in the warped artificer armor. This has happened many times since then. Whenever his killer takes even the tiniest moment of enthusiasm, pleasure, or satisfaction from besting Lucius, they will begin to change into him and become just another swirling face, a memory in the armor in which Lucius is clad. Not even the mechanical Necrons are immune from this curse, as the phasing sword has learned. After every death, Lucius is reborn again, as arrogant as ever, and immediately looking for a new challenge to fight. After the Battle of Thessala with the Ultramarines, Fulgrim left his legion to its fate and retired on a demon world called Kallax. Many Emperor's children saw this as a rejection by their Primarch, though Lucius did not. As Fulgrim was gone, a leadership struggle erupted in the legion, with Lucius, Eidolon, and Fabius emerging as the leaders of the most prominent factions. Lucius was involved in the Legion Wars and fought in the Battle of Scartharax. though his influence among the Emperor's children ultimately diminished. As time wore on, he was reduced to a leader of a small war band dubbed the Chemos Nasicae after his old bodyguard. Regardless, he remained an infamous and renowned among Chaos followers, and continued to operate as Fulgrim's champion. At one point, the Primarch employed Lucius to kill a Fulgrim clone created by Fabius Bile. Through the course of thousands of years, Lucius hunted down and eliminated a lot of great duelists. He defeated the Emperor's champion of the Black Templars at Veil Fate, the Dark Elder Archon Vrask in Cursed Shadow, and the Orc War Boss Two Claws at Octarius Sigma. After a series of reversals had reduced the Chemos Nasicae to about 20 Space Marines, Lucius was forced to cooperate with Fabius to replenish his warband. In the process, he was able to merge his force into a greater warband known as the Faultless. Ultimately, Lucius became part of Eidolon's Phoenix Conclave on Harmony. Lucius would later appear at the head of an army of Emperor's children during the 13th Black Crusade of Abaddon the Despoiler, inflicting untold suffering on the Imperial Ward of Belisar. He was also a commander in the Spear Tip Alliance, a coalition of Chaos and Xenos forces during the fall of Medusa 5. The scarring on his face is self-inflicted. However, at one point, he was a truly handsome man, but he resented being called too pretty by some of his fellow Marines. His perfect features were forever marred after the sparring match with Loken. The Luna Wolf's punch had broken Lucius's nose, and much to his fury, it had refused to sit properly despite the attentions of the Legion's apothecaries. Sometime before Estevan III, Lucius received a pair of scars across his cheeks from Remembrancer Serena D'Angelos, a painter in the 28th expedition who had already been corrupted by Chaos, to remind him of Loken's insult to his perfection. He subsequently marked himself with more scars to commemorate his victories, eventually creating an intricate network of scars distorting and deforming his features. Lucius is armed with the Lash of Torment, a demon-infested whip, as well as the ornate sword known as the Blade of the Lair. Before taking up the Blade of the Lair, Lucius was known to treat his weapons callously and wielded a master-crafted sword simply known as 19. His armor of shrieking souls, powered by the thousands of souls now trapped in it, offers him an unnatural protection and allows him to discharge the cacophony generated by the tormented souls as a devastating sonic attack. To further augment his superhuman abilities, Lucius carries a combat stimulant rack on his back designed by the Dark Elder. He won the device after emerging as a champion in the gladiatorial arenas of Komorrah. In battle, this stim rack will inject him with combat drugs. Alright guys, if you enjoyed this, hit that like button, leave a comment for the algorithm, and make sure to subscribe to stay tuned for more.